All right, so I figure it's about time that I go and do a simple overview of my system. It's been updated pretty heavily recently, and so we're gonna go ahead and start now. So to begin with, this right here in front of me, this is my Hydrasynth, and there's a lot of awesome videos on the Hydrasynth, but we will just be demonstrating a little bit about what it can do and kind of going over its features and how it works with the other elements of my setup, which I will go ahead and give a quick overview of here. So here we have the beautiful ASM Hydrasynth. And in the top right, although this is normally intended for use to store a laptop, I currently have the Microfreak sitting on there, and I use it sometimes to make sounds. Not that often though, because right now I'm using it for mostly its sequencer, but it also makes really great sounds that I can use to kind of layer with things that the Hydrasynth is doing. Over here we have the Akai Force, and this is used largely for its sampling and drum machine, but also sometimes for its onboard synthesizers, because those are pretty cool too. Basically it's just like an all-around powerhouse, physical DAW pretty much. Then of course a vocal mic and an instrument mic over here, and guitar, which I do not know how to play. And then my EWI, which normally I use an app called Respiro to make sounds for that one, and run it through just different onboard effects on my iPad. And this app that you see right here, that's AUM, and that is just like a really good software mixer for pulling all of these things together, allowing me to mix them and layer in effects and stuff. So let's go ahead and set this back up so I can kind of demonstrate some sounds. If I do this right, I should be able to layer in a good audio recording of all of the sounds. So, like every good Hydrasynth video, we will start with the very first patch. And the thing about this patch is that it does a really good job of highlighting the polyphonic aftertouch, which is one of the key features of the Hydrasynth. So the polyphonic aftertouch on this means that every key has its own independent aftertouch. So as I apply pressure, it will modulate that voice based on how much pressure I apply. So a lot of synthesizers have aftertouch. Not very many of them have polyphonic aftertouch. So what that means is on most synthesizers, if I were to press 3, and then I pressed 1, they would all get modulated together like I just did there. But in this one, if I want, I can only modulate the one that I'm pressing. Each voice gets its own modulation through aftertouch, which in my opinion is incredibly cool. All right, so the next cool feature of the Hydrasynth is this beautiful ribbon controller that you see here. So it's a full length of the 49 key, but on this guy there's a little extra space on the end because this is the Hydrasynth Deluxe. And I won't go into all the distinctions between the two there, just the Hydrasynth Deluxe you can think of as like two normal Hydrasynths smushed together into a bigger keyboard with some kind of cool features to really make good use of the fact that you've got two Hydrasynth engines smushed into one unit. So this ribbon controller can do a number of things. I'm going to go ahead and switch to, let's just init a patch here. So now I've just got, it's going to be just a saw wave, and I'm going to go ahead and bring the cutoff down a little bit just so that it's not quite as harsh and buzzy. Okay, and if I use the ribbon controller in its default mode, it kind of just acts as a really cool pitch bend. Of course, I could use, you probably can't see these, but over here I've got a pitch bend and a modulation wheel, which by default is mapped to the tremolo. It's kind of like a hidden 7th LFO on this guy that you can kind of use for extra modulations, but by default, the mod wheel is mapped to tremolo. Okay, so the other thing is I'm going to go ahead and push the ribbon button here, and there's many modes, well, a couple of modes for the ribbon controller. You can do pitch bend, you can do theremin mode, which is what I'm about to show. So theremin mode, I'm going to go ahead and, if you're doing that, then the ribbon gets its own voice. So you can be playing keys down here, and the ribbon is also its own voice. But you might have heard that that isn't particularly pleasant, but it can be. And to make this a little better, I'm going to go ahead and turn on a delay and a little bit of reverb, just because, you know, let's make it pretty while we can. Okay, and I want the cloud because, yeah, it's awesome. Okay, so the delay, we'll just do panning delay because that's nice. We're just gonna whip up some basic ambient here. Okay, so now I'm going to turn on a mode for the theremin mode called quantize. And what quantize lets me do is I can map it to a scale. By default, it's going to be on the chromatic scale. So now, instead of just being that kind of like mode between the notes, it actually lets me, it'll go between notes, discrete notes, instead of in between. So here, just listen, it'll make more sense. So now you can use it as a separate one. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick the Lydian scale because I think it sounds nice. Okay, and so now you can hear how this lets you do some pretty cool effects. So if I were to be like, don't even have to try, and you can make pretty cool sounding stuff. Alright, so that's the Hydrasynth. I also have it hooked up to an expression pedal and a sustain pedal, which allows me to map. So for instance, if I wanted to, I can go into my mod matrix here and I can say assign, and I'll just go ahead and spin down, and I'm like, let's go down and find my expression pedal. There it is. And I want to map it to filter 1. Cutoff by default, and remember I turned that cutoff down when I started this video, so I'm going to go ahead and get my expression pedal somewhere I can use it, and I'm going to turn up the amount here, and so now basically it just lets me use my foot as another way to control the voice. Of course, it can only have one, and so you can do some really creative stuff with that. And then sustain, the sustain pedal will just hold the note. So now, with mono hands, because I'm holding the sustain pedal. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and pick an actually beautiful sound instead of just that little one that I was doing there, just for demonstrating some of the features that are cool and unique to this. There are, let's pick a nice one here. And we'll turn on the arpeggiator. It's almost impossible to make bad sounds with this. Okay, so now you can see that this thing can make all kinds of beautiful sounds. But oftentimes you want a little bit more. So that's where the Akai Force can come in. And currently I have got just a really basic, seriously, what do I even have it doing? Nothing? Let's see. I'm gonna hit stop all. Let's see what this pattern isn't even doing anything. Here we go. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring that in. And it's just a really basic thing there. And what's cool is that I can make the force be the master clock for all of this, so that it sets the tempo for all of the other things, including the iPad effects, so then everything can stay in sync with the force acting as the master clock. So now, that's just pulling in this as a drum, and this one can do all kinds of things. Of course, and you can load all kinds of different drum kits. Right now, it's just playing a super simple sequence for the drums. And then I'm gonna go back into launch here, and I've already recorded some things that the Hydrasynth was producing in the past, so I'll just launch one of those. And then here's something that this is actually also a song for the Hydrasynth. basically this is an overview of the setup, and I hope to be making some more beautiful sounds to actually post on things like YouTube and Instagram here with it pretty soon. Basically I just do this for fun. It's kind of a form of meditation, and I like being able to share the things that I create with everybody, so I hope you enjoy, and I look forward to sharing more with you.